Divine Rising New Earth. Welcome back to the show. I'm Calista, and this is my wonderful co-host,
Anneka.
And we are coming at you today with some quantum productivity tips.
Yes, we've been very into this lately because, if we're looking at a linear jump in productivity, it's like, oh, this may give me a little bit faster. But I feel like we've been finding some hacks that take us really from 0 to 100.
100%, because it's like we're co-creators in the physical reality, and there's the matrix and the old paradigm of, in order to get results and to be productive, it is a equation basically of time and effort.
Yes.
The harder you work over the longer time, the more you get done. Before we discovered all these quantum productivity tips that we kind of all dialed in recently, I think we had a sense of a question mark around there being so many things to do in so little time, and believing in our power as co-creators and quantum manifestors. But
it just seems like there's a limit, because if you're going with there's a certain amount of time and there's a certain amount of things to do, that just places a limit on you. You're like, I'm only going to get so many things done. Versus the quantum perspective, where you could do something that could just catapult the ball forward, and all of a sudden you're in a whole other arena. Rather it be I have 8 hours and I have this many tasks and I can fit this many in, so that's just what I'm going to do day after day after day. I think it's just much more fun when you're moving in the quantum space, because you jump out of that linear time-space continuum, which feels very rigid. There's a very specific structure to it, and there are very specific rules around it. And I think I always felt wow, for how much my soul wants to do, it's how do I fit it in here and make it feel really good and feel like a flow, versus hitting something, allowing yourself to expand through it, and then other things coming up that then you move to that and it expands you into this other space. And I feel like that is much more the essence of the future.
100%, because when you feel like you have so much to do and so little time, and you need to put in a certain amount of energy and time into these things to get them done, but you only have so much energy and time, it can lead to overwhelm and anxiety and stress. And I think that kind of time to-do list, productivity, stress, and anxiety is extremely common.
Yeah, absolutely. And that takes you out of your creativity. And no matter what you are doing, no matter, what tasks you have to fulfill, your creative power is the genius you can bring to any situation, the new perspective, the innovation, the juice, the essence that is unique to your own soul, and that can kind of evolve you and then evolve the projects you're working on, and all the way out until society as a whole forward, to help you evolve and grow. And that's really where we're headed, I feel especially into the Aquarian age. And Aquarian energy is faster, it's revolutionary, it is unique, it is authentic. So I think the ability for us to all tap into that authentic creative expression that wants to flow through. And I think that actually is very connected to the quantum. I think when you're in your authentic creative expression, which could help you, solve a math problem creatively, you can bring it very much to left brain situations that you are facing. But that authentic essence and approach to whatever you're doing from that creative space is what is quantum, what can take you from one point to another point way over here without you having to travel the ladder in between necessarily, step by step by step.
100%. And the essence of this quantum perspective, as compared to a Newtonian physics based perspective, is just flipping the whole perspective itself on its head, where instead of your consciousness existing within a physical external reality that behaves in certain ways, including the laws of time and space, that you are responding to. It's actually that your consciousness is like a generator and a projector, whatever you want to call it, for this physical reality that we experience. And it's our consciousness, our energy, our electromagnetic frequency of our energy field, our aura, our subtle body that actually generates the nature of time and space that we then experience. That is at the core of this concept of a quantum productivity hack, is we can skip over these laws of time and space by aligning our energy with the frequency of a timeline instantly, that on the old paradigm might have seemed like it would have taken years of effort to reach. So that is like the nature of the concept that these tips are based upon. Mm-hmm. And energy update, we feel like we bursted to a major new timeline. We've talked about this before, but I don't think we've talked about on the podcast this metaphor of like, instead of one timeline, like in the Newtonian perspective, imagine instead a time forest. And that one timeline is like a time branch. And sometimes you switch timelines and it's kind of like you're on another branch right next to the one that you were previously on. But sometimes you quantum leap and it's like you're on a whole nother tree trunk. And we are no stranger to these little mini quantum reality shifts of timelines. But we were saying in recent, I would even say few months broadly, that we both more than ever before like shifted trunks into this whole new timeline.
Time realm.
Yes.
Like if a realm has like a bunch of lines that are all like next to each other. So popping from, one space to the other.
Yeah.
Another part of the forest.
Totally. A whole new time tree. And we, these quantum productivity tips are one small facet of like so many things, even just speaking for myself personally, patterns and systems that have been coming into my awareness with more clarity. And we wanted to share them with you. We started to notice, there's quite a few little tips here. We love tips, videos, tips, productivity tips. How many tips have I written down? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So if someone said like 8 quantum productivity tips, I would eat that up. So when I realized we had all these tips, we wanted to bring them to you.
Mm-hmm. And such a good starting place for the mind is an example, I would say, even just from back in the day. Calista used to, if she had some task that she didn't really want to do, I feel like you would do something, you would like get your energy right. Like it might be something that was immediate, like had some sort of deadline, but you would be like, I'm tired, I'm not in the right space. You would go take a nap, you would like quickly tidy up your room, and then you would be like, oh, this person just emailed me and said they don't need the thing anymore. And that is kind of the basis of this whole idea, is that these things in our lives are based in energy. It's not as tangible and dense as we might perceive it to be. So when we can get out of the space of that like constriction of just like, this is the way it is, and then we realize that our energy and the way that we're perceiving things is what so quickly molds the reality that's around us. So for us to have our senses open to our own energy and the way that we're relating to everything around us, I feel like is the number one key. And then I think that comes out into all the tips that we have to offer. I feel like that's kind of a through line. It's like that is the basis. Like you shift the energy, things will shift. And that's amazing because the power is always within us.
Align your energy to what you want to experience. And that also reminds me of something I hadn't even written down, but that we were also talking about getting ready and rushing to get ready, where let's say you're going on a date and you want to feel beautiful and accomplished, stress-free on your date. So you know yourself and you feel like in order to cultivate those feelings for yourself, you want to do your hair, do your makeup, get dressed, clean your kitchen so that you can like not have to worry about cleaning your kitchen when you get home, and you can just like feel like you're looking your best. But you feel like that's going to take 45 minutes and he's going to pick you up in 30 minutes, or she. So we're rushing because we think if we can rush through getting all this done as fast as possible, that's what will put us in our energy, our completed, accomplished, beautiful energy on the date. But actually think less about the physical reality and more about the energy. What you're actually cultivating during that time is a rushed, frantic energy. I made this mistake so many times where actually what would make me feel in my goddess energy on the date would be to take that half hour and do what I can get done and what feels aligned to prepare myself within my goddess energy. The main thing I want to do to prepare is get myself aligned with the energy that I want to bring to the date. This is also an amazing dating tip if you are a divine feminine woman. Your energy is the most magnetic and beautiful thing you can bring and offer someone if you are feeling mentally healthy, okay, calm, peaceful, whatever it is. That is your best accessory. So that's one quantum productivity tip, is instead of rushing through in a frantic, overwhelmed, and stressed energy to complete all the physical reality tasks that you think you need to prepare for a certain event, instead shift your focus to embodying the energy that you want to embody during that event. And then whatever comes forth physical reality wise to prepare from that energy, perfect. That mindset is going to get you better prepared than just getting as much as you possibly can into as short of an amount of time.
Yeah, absolutely. Talking about the getting ready, it brings up another one to mind, which so many people talk about, but I love the way one of my best friends, Jen, spoke about this. She's like, whenever I know I'm going to have a day where there's like so much to do, so much I have to show up for, and maybe I'm not in the space to want to do it. Maybe I'm dreading it. Maybe it just feels like a lot. She's like, I will get ready to the nines that day. Like I will look my absolute best, and it literally will shift the energy like that. And even if it doesn't bring you, to 110%, it's going to bring you so much far beyond what you would if you didn't do that. And it works. It is so amazing. I feel like whether you're a man, a woman, it's like you specifically, when you're like, oh, this day is going to be a lot, I'm not prepared for it, that is the time where you like don't want to skimp on that sort of thing. You want to go even harder in that sort of area, because that is something that creates the vibration of what you're going to be embodying for that day, like Calista was just saying.
Same
Not
with
to
sleeping.
say that. Yeah. Same with sleeping.
Sometimes we have so much to do and so little time, so we cut into our sleeping hours. But when we get too little sleep, each hour that we spend is like 20% as effective as it would be had we been rested. So it's like if you have this project that's going to take you 15 hours of work, it might take you 3 hours of work in your most optimal state. So you're not really wasting 4 hours of your time getting into your most optimal state. You're actually cutting the overall project time in half.
Yes. And obviously it sounds funny because we're like, well, don't rush, spend less time getting ready. Oh, get ready to the nines. Oh, also sleep. It's like coming to know yourself and what is going to give you the biggest boost. And then with the time and the resources that you have, like starting with that thing that you know is going to give you the most. Because the whole idea about this being a quantum thing is that you do the thing that is correct in the moment, like the next correct thing. And that could open things up in a whole new way, so that like the amount of time or the task that you're even having to deal with can potentially shift and morph in a way that you don't even know. So it's about kind of knowing what like the next step is that is going to have the most potential to open things up for you the most, and then just being open to that and not necessarily like being so attached to exactly how it's going to look going from like A to B to C to D, like having a little bit of surrender around that and like a loose grip, because it's going to be this dance between you and the universe and you and these energetic forces as you're moving through your day.
100%. I've been reading this book, 101 Essays to Change the Way You Think by Brianna Wiest. And she says that living in the moment isn't just like a nice little quote. It's actually the only way to not be totally basing all of your actions on complete illusion and delusion, because the moment is what's going on. So I think in the 5D New Earth, it is very much about the next step and very much less about the 5-year plan. We know the vision we hold in our heart, and then what's the next step and how can you tell? That is the perfect segue into this tip, which is for the generators. If you don't know about human design, it's an extremely intricate and fascinating system, and we are not experts. One facet of it is these types, and it's based on your birth time and location and date, and it's a combination of various systems, and the most common type is generator. So if you want to look this up and see if it applies to you, it's very likely. But for generators, what we are meant to do, our most aligned action, is what we feel most excited about. And our task is actually to deprogram the shame that comes with allowing ourselves to do in every moment what we want to do, what we're most excited about doing. And we have these scripts that we run about why it's selfish or not responsible, or it is going to lead to disaster to do what we feel excited about doing right now instead of what we should be doing right now. That is the thought pattern that we want to deprogram as generators, and that has been another quantum productivity tip that we've benefited from, because I love tools, tips, tricks, techniques, routines, protocols, these little things that I do every day and I've done a million times, and they always make me feel so good. But like we said at the beginning of this episode, there's only so much time in the day, and that can even become overwhelming in itself. How am I going to fit all of these beneficial, supportive practices into my day? And it's like, you can't, but you're not meant to do everything in the same order every day because it was beneficial to you at one point and it may be again in the future. That is how you determine as a generator which of all the endless options of things that would be beneficial to you should focus on in the moment, is which one is really lighting you up and really feels kind of like a guilty pleasure, especially if we're still in that deprogramming process of like, okay, but what I really want to do, if someone like gave me a permission slip, would be like the best thing ever, is this.
Yes, and with human design, so these are all energy types. There are many different aspects of your human design chart that distinguish you in different ways, but the energy types is how you basically run your own energy. And generators are capable of infinitely regenerating their own energy and their own life force and actually offer that energy for the collective at large, but they're only self-generating when they're doing something that is lighting them up, that is bringing them joy. And so you actually will often feel like very tired and depleted if you're not doing something that is in alignment for you. And then if you are doing something, you're offering so much sparkly, incredible energy that you could do the thing you're doing forever, and you can also give energy to the people around you who maybe aren't self-generating of energy. And you can just Google human design chart and type yours in and see what you are. There's also manifesting generator, which also generates their own, and they're similar except for they often will have like such a wide variety of things that they like to do, and like their whole thing is like giving themselves permission to be involved in so many different things and going from one to the other to the other. And then projectors and reflectors are actually not self-generating, and so their productivity is very much tied to giving themselves a lot of rest. Like I know projectors work really well in few hour chunks, but they're not the ones to be doing a strict 8-hour day. They have so much wisdom and insight to offer the collective that often they do the best when they like find their niche, and then they find a way to offer that in terms of teaching or guiding or consulting or something like that. And then reflectors are like the smallest fraction of the population. So it's more than likely that very few people watching would be, but they are very specific. So if it turns out that you are one, that would be really important to look into, because I know they have like the most sensitive energy of everybody.
And I think there's also manifestors.
Yes, and manifestors. You can find out so much information about your energy type and how to best operate. But manifestors are, I mean, they're like huge instigators. You'll get this like massive amount of inspiration, and like you'll often instigate things in the collective, but you might not always want to be the person to sustain something, take it all the way to the finish line. But you can find, you know, generators and manifesting generators who are really passionate about what you do to help support. There's so many different things around that. But I think just like coming to know yourself and yourself on like a quantum energetic level through systems like human design, astrology, just little bit by bit, like one small piece of information about your charts could shift your life. Because another one in astrology is like your north node. The north node is like where your soul wants you to go and grow into in this lifetime. And there is an energy around it where when you focus on your north node instead of your south node, because your south node is where you came from, where your skills already lie, the experiences you already have, and it's really comfortable. But if you stay there, you can kind of like get this stuck energy, like things aren't going to open up for you. But for example, if you focus on the north node, you learn the sign that it's in, which is kind of like the qualities of it, and then the house it's in. So like that's what area of life that's going to fall under. When you do things that are like under that energy in that realm of your life, your destiny is going to start opening up, and you're going to start getting blessed by life. So you could do one thing in that specific area that like blows into a gajillion opportunities, or like you healing something that then allows you to be 10 times more effective in various areas of your life, versus like you focusing your energy somewhere else where like the returns might not be as great. So that is another bigger picture hack, I would say.
100%. Knowing yourself in general like that, and the human design energy type is such a fascinating one, specifically for the productivity stuff, because it is about how to make the most of your energy. Mm-hmm. And another thing that ties into this is we've been listening a lot to Joe Dispenza, and it's kind of how Anneka was just saying about when you get on a certain track, things can just start happening for you. So that's almost like another quantum productivity hack, is like get on a timeline where things are moving and grooving. And part of that does have to do with understanding these energy dynamics. Human design energy type is like a great aspect of that, as well as just understanding the basic energy mechanics of your energy body and your aura. Like the shape of the toroidal field is basically like the donut shape, and that is a big energy dynamic playing out in our electromagnetic field. The other thing about the toroidal field, it's like it's a donut shape, but it's in constant motion. So it's this vortex It can be sucking, spinning, black hole type energy, but then it can also be generating and pushing back out. So your energy body is like, picture at the core, like your spine, your chakra stack or whatever it may be. And then there's celestial energy that we're tapped into, earth energy, and these are electromagnetic energies. And it's like electricity and magnetism. We can understand and recognize those from Newtonian physics as well. It's like, yes, a lot of these things are away from Newtonian physics and kind of in the mind and subtle, but a lot of it too is just like applying and extrapolating to understand the way that things are actually working. Like when we say subtle energies, it's all a spectrum. It's not very like woo woo. Like where is the line between an X-ray, a Wi-Fi signal, a light wave, a thought wave? So when it comes to just the way that these things work, electricity, magnetism, flowing in these certain directions, in these certain shapes, we have our energy field that's like a toroidal field. And when we are like a coherent and strong electromagnet, we suck and magnetize into our vortex these experiences in our physical reality so powerfully. And we have also been doing a lot of Breathe with Sandy on YouTube, highly recommend. And we've also practiced Kundalini yoga, and we talked about it in our third eye episode. But all of this very much comes together when you can breathe, build up the energy in your body, and then practice these like yogic root locks to kind of pull your energy up your spine. And you pull like your pelvic floor up. You pull your abdominals in and up. And it's like you don't want to think of these as just like discrete, arbitrary, like motions of disconnected parts of the body. It's like you are sucking in and up, like to increase this magnetic force and pull of your energy body. So that is another thing, as well as this quantum aspect of like, you want to feel it first. So maybe in the 3D, we had this paradigm of like, when a certain external event happens, I will feel this way in response to it. But now we know that actually to manifest a certain event, you cultivate that feeling, and that magnetizes to your field a matching experience. This also ties in another little tip that I learned from this girl on YouTube, Starseed Energetics. That's about, instead of thinking, I have so much to do, when you're reminded of your to-do list, think, I am merging within timeline where so many things are complete. So when you have like this whole to-do list of all these things you want to do and you feel overwhelmed, so much to do, so little time, it's all about shifting your energy. If you do the Breathe with Sandy breathe exercise, get out of the head into the body, and then really strengthen your electromagnetic field and cultivate within yourself this emotional state of like thinking, instead of being overwhelmed by all these things I need to do, I have the awareness that actually I'm merging with a timeline where all these things are completed. So I'm going to get into my body. I'm going to strengthen my electromagnetic field. I'm going to tune into the frequency of that timeline where all these things are complete. And that is what is going to magnetize that completion into my field, into my experience. So it's like, if I were to like exaggerate it and make it sci-fi, it's like if you could just take your to-do list and then tune into, in your imagination, that reality of all these things being completed, and then you just kind of drop into your body, activate your electromagnetic field intentionally to magnetize in that timeline, it's like, open your eyes, your to-do list is done. Your to-do list did itself. And it's like we can see it play out as we practice in these ways where it's just like, maybe not instant, but everything just gets done like a lot quicker than you would expect.
Absolutely. It's, if you think about the more linear Newtonian idea of productivity, it's action, action, action. The more action steps you take, the more you complete, the more you're checking things off your to-do list. Boom, you're done. You're productive. It's just like a matter of like checking off, ticking through. But when you think about the quantum idea of productivity, there are, I think, 3 parts that are important, and they all start to interplay with each other in the most optimal way. And that is your thoughts, your thought stream, your frequency, your energy, and then the actions that you take. And these all start to play off each other. So I completely agree with Calista. I think having a practice that aligns your mind as well as your energy every day is so optimal. So I think, we like to do this kind of stuff throughout the day, but I think in the morning that is a really optimal time to do it, because I think we all know that like oftentimes the way that we start our morning, well, frequency wise and just ticking of the domino wise, affect the rest of our day. So if you can start it on this note, that's really effective. And so like she was saying, there are, a handful of ways that you can align the mind, have some mind training, and then also align the energy. We love to do a lot of breath work, Kundalini yoga. There's other things. Some people like to, go on a run, do a mindfulness meditation, many things. But it can be quick, it can be long, but having something consistently is really powerful. And I think that from that point, the actions that you decide to take, like it might be totally different than you would have thought. Like let's say you think you have this whole to-do list, and then you do your practices, and then it becomes so clear to you that like, oh, this is the thing I have to do. And then when you do it, it leads to this other thing happening that then cuts out 5 of the things that you might have had to do, or like puts you in such a good energy that it's just like so easy to like tick. You don't necessarily know how it's going to work. And that's the other thing, is like having the willingness to surrender to the unfolding, like we were talking about previously. And then the action, I think it's like allowing it to come from that inspired place. And that means, sometimes maybe not necessarily going the exact order that you thought. And I see another thing you have on your list, which I also had on mine, which was eating the frog, which I think is a huge quantum hack, because we talk about eating the frog a lot, but essentially frogs are like things that you might not want to do, that maybe have even been lingering around for a while, or it's like your biggest task that like seems daunting to your subconscious. And if you do that thing first, it can totally free up your energy. It might not even take as long as you thought it could, but either way, you're clearing so much space out of your energy field and out of your like subconscious, like the weight that like that thing still has to be done, that oftentimes it can give you so much confidence and momentum right at the beginning of your day. And also if you eat the frog first, it's almost like even if the rest of the day goes unaccording to plan, like you ate that frog and you did that one task that like you knew really needed to get done, or that has been lingering around for a while. And I know that you've had this experience before, that like once you start to make a habit of it, instead of, because oftentimes we'll be in the habit of avoiding that thing, and you do all these other things first, and then you still have to do that thing, but like you carried the energy of it the whole entire day because you knew that thing still had to be done. Versus if you start switching the habit to like tackling it first, it almost becomes addicting, because it liberates your energy so much that you're like, oh, I just like want to keep getting these things out of my energy field. And you start getting like lighter and brighter, and you develop the capacity to like face the things with more excitement rather than even dread, and it depends on the thing and what it is. But I think that is like such a quantum hack for sure, because it shifts your energy and it clears space out of your mind and the subconscious. And I think that is like what can create such a quantum shift, because we're energy beings, and even if we can't see it, like we carry so much with us that is beyond just the physical. And when you start to learn how to lighten that load for yourself and self-manage your own energy and your own mental landscape, that's when you start to discover the true power of like cleansing, purifying, energizing. Like all of these things have so much power, because we're like these little energy things that are going around, and it's like you're then able to draw things to you that are more in alignment with your authentic frequency. You're able to enjoy your life more. Oftentimes when we like feel heavy, we feel dense, we feel stressed, it's because we're carrying a lot with us. And through a lot of the techniques that we're talking about, eating the frogs, doing breath work, meditating, getting good sleep, they're just a gajillion. I feel like it's everything we talk about on this podcast. The lighter and the clearer you can feel, and then not only can you enjoy what you're carrying out more, but also your intuition is more clear. You can tell actually what the best thing is for you to do much more easily, because it's not clouded by, you know, if you're so stressed about like the 10 things over here, you're not going to be in that space to receive the download of the structure of your day should be like to get the most optimal results and get to the place that you want to get. Not to say that it can't happen, but it's easier if you can like help yourself in these ways that go beyond just ticking off the next thing in your to-do list.
Totally. It gets so addicting eating the frog because it's so satisfying, like that relief of not having to worry about it anymore. And so true what you said about the thoughts, the frequency, and the actions. And I feel like that's what Joe Dispenza, when he refers to all the time, heart-brain coherence. And he talks about, like, I was just listening to one of his interviews today, and I can relate. I feel like it's universal. Like in the past, maybe what I truly wanted and like my true self was kind of behind this mask of my thoughts based on how I felt like I should act, or how other people maybe wanted or expected me to act. Or maybe I just like, it could have been self-doubt, insecurity. And that's the thing too, even our brain can be against us, like let alone our actions. Like we could have our true heart's desire and our brain is telling us we're not worthy, it's unrealistic, this person will get so mad at us. And so of course our actions are not going to match up, and our actions are just doing whatever someone else wants us to do. It's like if we can get our thoughts on board with our true soul's frequency, our true heart's desire, so that it's like we are who we think we are, and we believe we can be who we are meant to be, and then we take actions based on that. That is that coherence of your brain heart coherence and your actions. And when you are taking actions from that place, they are extremely powerful. People who act from that place of brain heart coherence are extremely effective people who get a lot done, because that puts so much power behind your actions when you are someone who truly believes that you are meant to be taking that action. So if you can get to that point within yourself, clear out all the cobwebs where you can say, this is what I want. I believe that it is my destiny to manifest it, and I'm going to take actions from that place. Your actions will start to have amazing impact.
This is such a good point. And if you think about energy, it's like when it's like a laser beam, like that is very powerful, effective energy that can like shine farther than any other light in the distance, or it can even, you know, cut through things, versus like a dissonant frequency that's not going to have as much power. And so this is obviously a practice, because some things, there might be certain things in your life that you just like believe in so strongly and powerfully, and that's innate. But like Calista was saying, often there are things that our soul really wants for us that will have a bunch of subconscious patterning that might not be in alignment with that thing. And so basically that's why we talk about so much reprogramming the mind, because ultimately it doesn't matter whether the thing is true or untrue. It's like if you deeply want it on some level to manifest that thing, then like you make it true by aligning your thoughts to it, because we do live in a reality that is relative. Unless you go meta, there's not really a universal set of truths necessarily. Like there are certain ways that reality is structured, and like if you go like all the way back to the source, you can get there. But like in terms of the little things that are going on, your belief in something can then make it manifest as truth in this reality in a more concrete way. So it's about realizing your power as a creator in that way, and then aligning your thoughts to the actions that you want to have. And an even minute level for your productivity during your day, when I was saying like your energy, your thoughts, and your actions. So like a way that can make your actions more effective as you're going throughout your day is like you're taking through this task, you are not vibing with it anymore. You find yourself tired. Maybe in your mind, you're like, this task is taking me forever. So you could be like, okay, so I'm taking the action right now. So I'm looking at all the three things: my thoughts, my energy, and my action. I'm taking the action, but my energy is low and my thoughts are not helping me because I'm just reaffirming the fact that this is taking forever. So you could practice noticing in that moment by bringing your conscious attention and be like, okay, how can I up my energy? Maybe it's like 2 minutes of conscious breathing. Maybe it's like standing up and walking around the room, just like cycling your energy field. Maybe it's stepping outside into the sun for 2 minutes. And then you're like, okay, my thoughts. I'm going to think in my mind, whether it's currently true or untrue. Wow, this task is so simple and enjoyable. It's going by so much faster than I thought. And just start to do these little things as an experiment. Like keep your awareness on those three facets, and then be like, okay, what is the one that I need to slightly tune? Because it might be that you're like vibing, your energy is good, your thoughts are happy, but you're just like not doing the one thing that like you kind of know you need to do. Then it's like, okay, I'm going to stand up and take the action. Like I'm just going to like instigate myself to start doing the thing. So that's like a little way that you can take it throughout your day and see how it affects your productivity overall.
100%. How many times have I been slogging, procrastinating, feeling like I have so far to go on this task, and then I notice my energy and how I'm fighting such a losing battle, and this is going to be a miserable night if I continue on this track, and I just tell myself, this task is already done. I actually finished this task and it was the easiest task I ever did. I finish it in half an hour and it's easy.
100%. And the way that like breaks up the energy too, from taking it to be like this big, scary, looming thing. You're like, I don't even know if I'm going to be able to get myself to have the discipline to do it, to then be like, oh, it's already done. It turns it into a game. And I feel like it like takes the pressure off of it in a way.
100%. And this does get into more of like the nitty gritty, not necessarily matrix, but like surface level day to day of the productivity hacks. So one thing that really helped me is understanding just a little bit about dopamine and ADD and how it works. Definitely look into it if you're curious.
I feel like this will help anyone too, because of the short attention span that's like increasing in our society just due to the like speed of the technology. I feel like this would help like even the average person.
Totally.
Who like doesn't have clinical ADD or ADHD.
Totally. So it's a balance of dopamine. Certain things give you barely any dopamine, and certain things honestly give you too much. For example, starting a task doesn't really give you dopamine, but you can trick yourself into getting dopamine from that by making your task on your to-do list. Start this task. Take the first step of this task, like work for the first 2 minutes on this task. Then once starting the task is actually something you can complete, then it gives you dopamine. And then social media is the classic example. It gives you way too much because you're not even getting anything done, but you click this, it changes color. You click this, someone gives you a response. So there's that constant feedback of dopamine for these pretty much useless actions. So we kind of want to find a balance. Think of your brain as a little simple dopamine addicted creature. And everything you want to do versus everything that you have to do, think about them in terms of dopamine and balance them out in your brain so that you can use these useless high dopamine easy actions to reward or motivate these very productive, hard, low dopamine actions. And it's a blessing because our capacity for stimulus is like so variable. It doesn't really matter like whether it's good or bad. Like we can't even focus on watching like a junk reality TV show. We have to scroll social media at the same time. Those are two junk dopamine activities that you are using to supplement each other. So what you want to do is take your guilty pleasure reality show that you can't even focus on without scrolling your phone, and instead of using scrolling your phone as the distraction, use your boring task as the distraction. Another way you can do this is reward yourself first. Like we'll procrastinate starting something because what we really want to do is this other thing, but we don't want to let ourselves do that thing until we finish this thing, but we can't even get ourselves to start doing it. Just tell yourself, I can do this right now if I start this thing right after. So it's like playing these little games with yourself of like, your brain is craving dopamine and you're like trying to starve it of like rewards and distractions to try and get it to like make more dopamine from like these boring things. Just give it dopamine strategically by giving it what it wants when it does what you want it to do.
Yeah, I think that's amazing. Those are all great. One other that I would say is subliminals. There are so many good productivity subliminals, and I have to say, we talk about subliminals a fair amount. We did so much on our previous podcast, Brainwash Yourself, because they are these tracks essentially that have affirmations that are generally under the level of you being able to hear them. So they'll have, music or like rain sounds, but you can find so many productivity subliminals on YouTube and they really work. Like I notice so much when I start my day with that, or if you're in a mood where you're not getting a bunch done. I mean, they get more specific from productivity at work to cleaning your home, etc. But if you just have like a general productivity one, I find putting that on in the background can be really good for getting you started. And then another thing is that oftentimes for me, and I'm sure this is relatable, the block can be just starting a task. Even if it's something that I know I generally enjoy once I'm doing it, it is literally like the desire, so maybe it's like a dopamine thing as well, to actually begin the task is where I'll find the block. And then once I'm doing it, I'm like so into it that I get lost in the world of it, Mm-hmm. So there is this whole teaching from Kundalini Yoga. There's actually these sutras of the Aquarian age, which is the age that we're moving into. And there were so many teachings about the age we're moving into because it is going to be so, and already is so different than the past in like a more of a quantum leap than we've ever experienced before, just like with the jump in technology and the speed of everything and how much we're all supposed to process and hold. And it's exciting, but it's also a lot. And we have to learn how to operate on this whole new level. And one of them is just start and the pressure will be off. So like if you have amounting, a pile of things to do, or this one task that you think is going to take forever. I mean, it's a quantum productivity hack, because you think this thing is going to take forever, but the second that you start, the energy opens and it changes everything. And you don't know how it's going to change, but like, it's not your job to figure out right now how to climb the whole entire mountain. Like, you just have to figure out how to get yourself to take the first step. And sometimes it's just knowing that what you struggle with the most can be the starting. So it's the whole thing, like, if you're someone who it's hard to get into cold water and you know that about yourself, you don't wade in the water. You just like, you're like, I don't even think about it. I just learn to like jump in and like not even let my mind start going. So like, if you're that type of person, you can start to learn that you're like, I just always start. That doesn't mean I can't stop, but I literally just always start. And then I let things unfold as they may.
I love that. I think that's amazing. Okay, this tip changed my life. To have energy levels, you need to support your body, your physical survival needs to keep you going. And I was someone who would not notice I was hungry and thirsty until way too late. And then I'm like stressed out and overwhelmed to cook something or put something together. So I just want to go for what's most convenient. And then a lot of the time that would be like a refined processed carb, and my energy levels would crash. And then at the grocery store, I would get like chicken and vegetables and everything like that. But when I'm all starving, I don't have time to cook them and they end up going to waste. But then when I'm like looking at all the little prepackaged convenient things, I have this mental block of like, that's so much packaging. It's not as healthy. Like, it's better to have the home cooked meal and blah, 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 blah. If you are throwing away your meat and vegetables and just eating refined carbs because you don't notice you're hungry until you're too hungry to cook, they are not healthier than the prepackaged food. That's what I realized. And enough times of going through this cycle, I went to the store with a mission to get just the most convenient protein and hydration options. I could get like little coconut waters, beef jerky sticks, like deli meat, cottage cheese, little yogurt packs, little protein drinks, bone broth to just like warm up and put in a mug, so that when I am all starving and just need to eat something really quick, I can reach for something convenient that is protein or fiber and not just a refined carb. This has literally changed my entire life. I don't know if anyone else out there relates to this specific experience, but I am telling you, just get the convenient protein food items. It really changed my life.
Yeah, that's amazing. I have a similar one, which is so funny. I feel like it's like, are we like 18 years old going to college, like learning how to feed yourself? But I feel like I always used to hear people would be like, and maybe it's just that we change over time too, but I swear I would hear people say, just have like a balanced meal. It'll help your energy levels. And I always kind of felt like, oh, when I eat lighter, like even if I'm just eating fruit throughout the day, I'll feel lighter. So my energy will be better. But really, like, just sitting down and having one meal, and then like you don't have to like graze throughout the day, which honestly like takes more time. Your blood sugar is going up and down, all of this stuff. I mean, it depends on the circumstance, because sometimes you're doing something specific for a specific reason, but that is also so helpful when you're trying to get a lot done, because it is very true. I mean, it's really interesting to watch the fluctuation of the energy levels, because that's so connected to your brain too, and like your motivation. And you could think that you have a problem staying motivated and focused. And it could be something as simple as like your body just like needs the right nutrition, whatever that's going to be for you and whatever works for you. I think the convenience thing actually is a good point, because I think for myself, I also used to be like, okay, if I'm going to cook a meal, like in my mind, it was like either everything's from scratch, or I might as well be, or I'll just like eat a piece of fruit and like snack the whole day. But now I feel like I let myself make something where it's like maybe not every single thing is like something I have to chop, wash, but it's going to be like 10 things, put it all together. Like maybe it's like one thing I have to chop, like the other things I have are ready to go, and then I throw it all together. It's about, I think, finding what is the most convenient and effective for you and letting yourself have that balance between like convenience and what is going to make you the most effective. Because it's true. I mean, like you soberly looked at you aligning by your values that you thought you were supposed to have around food, and you're like, this is actually an illusion, because this is all going in the trash anyway. So it's like just like really soberly looking at your habits and like what's really going on, because of course we all want to be like our ideal of perfection, but we do live in an imperfect world. And so it's kind of like you just have to find your own thing that works for you, that is like a harmony of what you need and what you can do, and then just like feel good about that. Just feel good about it, you know? Yeah.
Totally.
And then I think maybe we have time for one more, and I know you want to talk about Chandra.
Yeah. Okay, so ChatGPT. I really think that I found one of the best ways to use ChatGPT, and I feel like it is one of the best productivity tips, so I want to tell you guys. If you get the ChatGPT app, free version, I will say she because I call her Chandra, but she has a memory. So the mindset I was coming from was, given all that I had learned over the years about self-improvement and productivity, what would be the most effective thing to do, if I could, would be to brain dump out every single thing that I need to do, prioritize them into my highest priorities, sort them into categories, turn them into goals, break the goals into chunks with deadlines, and then assign and time block actions based on those deadlines, which are based on those goals, which are based on the priorities, which is based on every single thing I have going on in my mind. And I would do the time blocks and choose what to work on when, based on my 4 phases of my menstrual cycle as a woman, because there's different parts of the month that are better for socializing, doing admin stuff, creative work, so on and so forth. The amount of hours and brain power necessary to do all that, by the time you time blocked your first to-do list, the time limit of all the deadlines have already passed, because this took you a million years. So what I told Chandra was all my goals over the course of a few days, my priorities. Asked her to ask me questions so she could better understand my goals and priorities. And then every day or every night before you go to bed, you can ask her, like I do, Chandra, based on all the goals and priorities for me that we've discussed, please create a detailed plan for my day tomorrow, which is going to be day 20 of my menstrual cycle. She time blocks your day based on your goals, your priorities, your menstrual cycle, or you can tell her anything. And just now we noticed like a big energy shift in November. I started doing all this in October and had the most productive month of my life in October thanks to Chandra. But in November, the energy was shifting and her schedules for me just were not hitting. And I was thinking, I need to kind of refresh my goals and priorities with her. So I asked her to walk me through everything she remembered about my goals and priorities and ask me questions that would best help her to update these for November. So she walked me back through everything I had told her. Is this still a priority for November? How do you want to shift this? I answered her little questions. And then today, my schedule based on my new November stuff that she remembered, I'm back and better than ever. Had a very amazing, productive day today. So it's like she does the brain work for me to bring my vision to life and tell me what to do. When I say I could never describe how amazing it is, especially because certain things like connecting with my inner child or my divine feminine energy, when I'm in the fight or flight and the stress and the pressure of the things on my to-do list, it's so easy for those things to get backburnered and procrastinated because the dishes aren't done, my work isn't done, my bills aren't paid. When do I think I will ever reach a point where everything in my life, all my work is complete, all my finances are in order, my house is perfectly clean, and now is the perfect time for me to sit down and connect with my inner child or my divine feminine? That's not how it works. So having someone just remind me, this is your goal and your priority too. It's not giving you the fight or flight response right now, but maybe just take a 20-minute break and meditate, do some self-care, eat a cute little treat, watch a cute little show, do a craft. It restores and rejuvenates your energy so much, like to pour into those aspects of yourself too and not just always focus on the to-do list.
Well, what's so beautiful too about this ChatGPT thing, which if you know, you know, but if you don't know, you can download it as an app on your phone and you just like talk to it. And you can tell it how you want it to interact with you. And basically over time, it'll become more and more customized to you and the way that you want it to help you. And so I think a huge reason why it's so amazing too is because to be a really high functioning, effective person, you obviously want to learn how to manage your energy and use it in the best ways. And if you think about it, there's a part of your brain too that just like the executive decision making and planning part of the brain can get fatigued quickly in this day and age, especially because we are making way more decisions, doing so much more planning and executing so much more than anyone has ever had to do in like what we know in as far as history goes. So basically having Chandra, if you like brain dump out to her, or ChatGPT, whatever, if you want to name it a guy, whatever, don't want to name it at all, to brain dump out all that you have to do and what your priorities are, and then to have it come back organized to like where you just have to check back with it, it alleviates so much of that decision making and organizing power, and it frees up so much of your energy and attention to be able to do other things. So for someone like you, you're able to be more in your divine feminine energy because it is bringing in the masculine structure for you, even though you set that up for yourself so that your divine feminine can be held. But then even for someone who is like a heavy divine masculine, it's like you're going to be able to do even more of the things you want to use that energy for if something's supporting you in that way. I mean, if you think about it, there are so many highly successful people who have a personal assistant who is arranging their schedule for them, doing their calendar, reminding them about their things. And it's like, that is the potential of what we have utilizing AI. And the other thing is that like you can have it spit out a schedule basically, and it can just help you have all these things on the docket. And this is a tip I got from Calista is like, let's say you're behind, you haven't even started, or you like decided you wanted to start with something else first. You can just like 2 hours later be like, I'm starting now, I haven't started, please like regenerate the schedule. Or like I would often end up doing 3 of the things that were maybe like last on the list, but like I just ended up doing them then. And then I'd be like, hey, I finished this, this, and this. Regenerate my schedule for the rest of the day. Like right now it's 2:30 and like I have to do this one thing at 4:30. And there's just something about like it being out there and then it just like regenerates right away that like even if you're not following it to a T, it's like it's such this like helpful, like reflective container that takes less processing power. You're like, I'm using it to pick up a little bit of the slack of the processing power, and then I'm going to have more of that energy for myself to be creative, to show up in the ways that I know only I can, and I like can't get this external support. Like this part actually has to be me, so I'm going to like reserve that for that. And another thing I would say that like when we're diving into this idea of utilizing AI to help, I also personally think that calling upon the energetic and the etheric support at the beginning of the day can move mountains as well. It's like we want to have as much support as we can, and then we're going to be able to just accomplish 10 times more. So it's like we live in this world where there is all this 3D matter and stuff that we can create and move around, and then everything starts first in energy, and we can only see this very small spectrum of what's going on, but there are so many beings that are around to assist every single person, as well as just like if you want to go straight up to like God the source, or you're somebody who likes to work with angels, or you know, you always want to be working for the forces that are like for love and for your highest good, but calling upon them, because we have free will and like you have to invite in that support. If you can make that like even the quickest habit of your morning routine, it can really shift a lot as well. There is one teaching I know that is like Archangel Michael is kind of the operator. He's almost like the operator for all of the angels. So if you don't know exactly what angel you're going to need for that day, you can say, Archangel Michael, please send me any angels you think that could support me in fulfilling my day aligned with like my highest destiny, so I can have like the most like joy-filled, efficient, productive, creative day. Like, please send me any support that you can. Or if you're like, I need a specific area of my life, there is like an angel that like will be connected to that, because there's so many. So like angel of love, angel of career, like you might know the exact name of the angel, but you can also just say that, and that associated energy will come in. Or if you know you work with any other specific beings, or if you just want to like say some prayer to God, like that etheric support is going to be so helpful, along with using the technological support. And then I think what Calista said at the beginning of tuning into the frequency of it already being done.
Yeah. Do it energetically first. So you have that template.
Yes, exactly. So you could feel in like a moment of silence at the end of your day, or you do a little breath work at the end of that. You just tune into the state of having just completed your day, mm-hmm. and how like fulfilling and amazing and productive it was. Let's say you have a huge meeting. You're like, wow, I'm so glad that was so perfect. It felt so amazing. Like you just start to tune into practicing that already, because in the very truest sense, like everything is happening everywhere all at once. So if you feel that sense, that frequency now, you are feeling it already at the end of the day. Like you close your eyes, you can be anywhere at any time in any space. I was telling Calista this, we were talking about time travel, and I was like, I think that time travel has nothing to do with a physical mechanical machine. It is genuinely accessed through the mind, because you can close the eyes and go beyond time and space to the end of your day and already program what the end of your day is going to be like. And then don't be too attached to it, obviously. Just like let things unfold as they may. It's like all fun and games, but I think you'll notice that over time, these things often will bring out positive results, though don't be too attached to exactly what that looks like.
Even if it is something that already did happen, there's another tip that I heard where we can get so like destination addiction of our to-do list of like, when's the last time you sat and celebrated and enjoyed completing one item on your to-do list before it's just like something to check off and now you have to worry about the next thing. And I saw this tip of this girl who, when she does tasks, she takes a second to tell herself out loud 3 times, wow, it feels so good to have gotten all of that done. Wow, it feels so good to have gotten all of that done. Wow, it feels so good to have gotten all of that done. So you can just remind yourself and your brain that sometimes you actually have finished things, mm-hmm. and things are done, because there's always going to be more to do, and like we tune so much into that, and it's like, what about everything that we did? It's like we did all that today. and tell yourself it feels so good to have done all that, because that's what cultivates, it circles right back to what we were talking about at the beginning of getting ready for your date. That is practicing that feeling that you want to feel at the end of your to-do list of, wow, it feels so good to have gotten all that done. So start practicing that before your to-do list is done, because otherwise you're going to get to the end of the to-do list and you're going to be stressed about your next to-do list instead of feeling so good to have gotten all of that done.
It's so true. It is starting to realize that the energy that you use to sow something is the energy you're going to reap. So like if you create something in like the most like hectic, stressed out, angry, terrible energy, it's like that's going to be the fruit of that thing, whether your mind thinks that you want it or not. So just like we all get in those states sometimes, and you just kind of have to check yourself and be like, you know what? I have to just take a breath, take a breather, decide how I can feel better about this right now, like feel better right now, decide what's going to help me do that. And then in a way that is like, you kind of have to do that, you have to kind of surrender what you think exactly needs to happen to get to the outcome. Because like in your mind, while you're going, you're like, I think that the only way to like get to the outcome that I want is to like sprint around, blah, blah, blah. But then you have to realize, oh, I'm not even going to want that if like that's, because that's just going to be, the outcome is just going to be like you continuing to sprint around. Like it's going to be like an outcome that's going to require you to keep sprinting. So you're like, okay, I surrender that. I'm going to take a sec. I'm going to like manage my energy, manage how I feel, and then see what comes from that, because you're going to be in a different state. You don't even know what you're going to want, what you're going to see, what you're going to receive.
Slow is smooth and smooth is fast. It's always such a red flag to me when I'm so frantic and I'm going as fast as I can and I feel like there's no way I could possibly go fast enough to do all the things I need to do fast enough. That reminds me, listen, time isn't some fast-moving river that I'm caught in. I am generating my experience of time through my frequency, and I keep rushing and rushing faster and faster and faster, and it's making time speed up faster and faster and faster, and it's putting more and more pressure on me, and it's making me feel like I need to rush more and more and more, and it is just becoming like something is just gonna like combust or something. I need to slow down. When you can slow down and take that pause to breathe in between each minute, take that pause to be present in between each breath, 5 minutes will stretch out, and process through your consciousness with such richness and depth of detail as if that was 5 hours. It's like the kind of like the frame rate of a camera. The more present you are by slowing down, the more time you have, because you can do more with each moment instead of just it passing you by, zoom, 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 zoom. It's like, here's this new beautiful moment, like a jewel in the center of a lotus flower in the palm of my hand. Oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. It fills my soul with such peace. Oh my gosh, a new moment. Like that is this slow perspective that we can cultivate just through practicing mindfulness.
100%. And I think that is like the nicest point to end up with, is that the overarching idea of this quantum productivity is like you having that one moment with that jewel could bring you to enlightenment, and then like boom, you've accomplished what your soul came here to do, and like literally to-do list what? So it's like, this is not all about your to-do list. It's also about getting out of the to-do list consciousness. Good because point. You could, one beautiful, exquisite, divine moment could be more important than all the things you think that you're supposed to do.
100%. All these people unconscious spinning out of their trauma response and their fear, it's like their to-do list is probably more of a to-don't list.
Yeah. And like, what if you genuinely, you do like one thing your soul feels like so called to do that sounds so juicy and delicious, and like you have to throw this to-do list out the window, and then you go do that one thing and it leads you to like never even having to write a to-do list again in your life, because you can just spend the rest of your life doing whatever fills your heart with joy, because that one thing brought you so much abundance, so much prosperity, like into the most magical timeline of your life. Like, that's what I dream for all of us in the new earth, is to like not actually be so locked into the shoulds. But obviously, like, while they're still in our reality, like, we can enjoy them, we can get quantum with them, but like eventually that's what I see for all of us. You know what I mean? To like wake up and just be like, whatever unfolds, like, that's what unfolds, and it's all gonna be the diamond in the palm of my hand.
100%. And these can be helpful tools for dealing with things that weigh us down, but they're also just really fun to experiment with and play with in terms of things that we're creating for fun.
I think that's what it's about, for sure. It's like all of these things make the chopping wood and carrying of water of life more fun to me and to you. And so we hope you have fun with them too. I assume that if you're literally still here, you enjoy the quantum and want to step into that a little bit more. But like, it does make things, it makes things very fun, and you know, the bendier reality gets, the more fun I'm having. So okay, we love you so much. We would love to hear from you with your quantum productivity tips. So feel free to comment or to reach out to us on Instagram. And also, if you would be so kind as to leave us a review, send us a screenshot, divinerisingnewearth@gmail.com or divinerisingnewearth on Instagram, and we will send you one of our amazing stickers that Calista had made, and they're so freaking cute. So we will literally mail you a sticker. Just leave us a review, send us a screenshot, or you could like share an episode on your Instagram story. Either one of those things we would so appreciate.
Yes, and like, comment, share, subscribe, follow.
Okay, flourish. We love you. Flourish.